Hello, dear viewers. Namaskar. Welcome to Moksha Media. You are with Moksha Hiramat. Often and often we talk of Shrutis, Smritis, Vedas, Agamas, Upanishads, and other parts of Vedas. But anyhow, they are related to one another. But some of them are very older. They are older than Rigveda. That is what some people opined. Let it be to the discussion of scholars. But the point is this. We talk of Shruti and Smritis. What does Shruti mean? Shruti means to hear or heard. Whatever we are heard, whatever we hear, we remember it and pass it from mouth to mouth, from generation to generation. That is, this experience of others is heard. That experience is memorized, and that memory is passed through the mouth from one to others, from generation to generation. But anyhow, some people opine that these Shrutis are the part of Vedas. We know there are 4 Vedas: Rigveda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharva Veda. These different Vedas have different duties and works to be performed. Rigveda is considered the oldest one among the Vedas. But some people say that Shrutis are older than Rigveda. Later on, they become part and parcel of Vedas. These Vedas again are divided into 4 parts. They are Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. Each Veda has these organs, has these parts. Upanishads are considered as Vedanta, that is the end of Vedas. Veda means Vidya. Veda means to accumulate the knowledge. Whatever knowledge prevailed at that time, whatever knowledge they had at that time, whatever is passed from one generation to another generation, is accumulated in Vedas. Some of the practices may be wrong. Some experiences may be repeated. Some rituals are maintained to maintain the sanctity of those things. But that doesn't mean the Vedas should be neglected. We should see and understand these Vedas in the background of those times, not through the spectacles of 20th or 21st century and etc. Because every knowledge has its own limitation. But anyhow, whatever is good is transferred to another generation by the way of mouth, by the way of memories, that is the Smritis, that is the records, and by the ways of other things, and etc. etc. Of course, these are developed into different branches later on. But Shruti, I have already told you, is heard. It is to hear. What is heard is passed from generation to generation. Smriti is a record of what is heard, what is experienced. It is in the form of a writing. It may be in a different forms. It has its own validity. It has its own content. So we talk of many smritis. Manusmriti is the later one. Of course, we have taken whatever is there in Manu and we alleged it to Manu. But Manu recorded whatever is there, whatever is passed to him from generation to generation. That is a different aspect. But here I am not going to say about that. Let it be to the scholars. Let it be to the pundits. As common men, we have to think of these Shrutis, Smritis in our own way. In the form of our own understanding. Not in the eyes of 20th century, but in the eyes of those things. Whatever is good should be accepted. Whatever is bad should be denied, should be rejected. That is the human nature. If something is wrong in those things, we should not reject all those things. If you want to reject them, they would not be rejected because they are so. They are the part and parcel of their life in some cases, in some situations, on some occasions. In order to discipline our mind and behaviors, of course, we need those things. They control the bad habits of human beings, and sometimes they may push it to the end of it also. But that depends upon the situation, that depends upon the person who accepts it, who adapts it. That depends upon the society who accepts it. But anyhow, in this way, Shrutis play a prominent role in Vedas. Of course, Vedas becomes Vedantas, that is the end of the Vedas. They are appeared again in the form of Upanishads. Upanishads have two forms, that is one the knowledge form, another one is ritualistic form. Some religions follow the knowledge form of Upanishads. There are so many Upanishads, innumerable Upanishads, in the sense that there are 250 or more. Even today, there are some Upanishads are appearing on and on. That shows these Upanishads accumulate and distribute the knowledge, the understanding, the experience they have got, and they are going to get in their own way. So, and in these things, that is the Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads should not be used for our own end. Some people use them for their own ends, not for the benefit of the society, but for the benefit of particular persons, particular castes in India. That is nowhere told in the Vedas, that is nowhere told in the Upanishads and Smritis and Shrutis. In order to reach their own end, in order to get their own ends, they are misused. Of course, even science is also misused in so many cases. That is not the fault of the science, but that is the fault of the human beings who understand it, who interpret it, and who try to adapt it to the society and environment. So, whatever is good in those things should be accepted, whatever bad in those things should be rejected. Of course, the nature of human beings does it, knowingly or unknowingly. So, we don't know, but at the same time they play a particular part, they play a particular role in the shape, in the norms of the society to shape the society. Everyone cannot reject all the things, but at the same time all the things should not be accepted. Some things should be accepted, some things should be rejected. That is what we have to see in these things, in these parts of the olden days knowledge. But of course, Smriti is not considered an authoritative one whenever a contradiction arises. Pandits, scholars, seek what is there in the Shrutis but not in Smritis. Because they think that Shrutis are very authoritative because they are older. They are older than the Smritis. Smritis are appeared in the later periods. That is why whatever is said, whatever is passed from mouth to mouth is considered as an authentic one. So, in that way, Shrutis are considered authentic. So, we have to think in this way. So, if we think positively, definitely we can get things which shape human personality and society. But sometimes in the fit of emotions and in the fit of science, we try to wrongly interpret it and interpret other things also. But that is not the fault of them, but it is the fault of the interpreter. It happens in every case. Even today in medicines we can see so many things. Nowadays most of the medicines are fakes. That is what the surveys told. And most of the labs are dictating in the name of test report, but sometimes they may not be correct. They may be right in some countries, they may not be right in the countries one lives, with a different environment, with a different culture, with different understandings, with different food habits, and etc. etc. But they impose it for what? In order to make the profit out of those tests, out of those medicines. So sometimes these medicines, these tests make the man disappear from the earth itself, because sometimes they are not tested properly. And especially in countries like India, we don't have any control over these tests. Anyone can come to India, anyone can test it, going into the forest, and they experiment it on the tribes, on the ignorant persons. They give some sort of money and they are happy with that money and undergo the test. After some years they come to know the effect of it. So all these things should be viewed in a different way. If tests are done properly, if they are projected properly, we have to accept those tests. But in the name of the test, they reveal the wrong things that cannot be accepted. So many doctors say it. Here, I remember Dr. B.M. Hegde, who is amidst us. It tells of this. Minimize the medicines. Take the medicines wherever it is possible, wherever it is inevitable. But some specialists prescribe the medicines for sake of so many other things. It cannot be applied to all, but some. That is, some is always an exception. That doesn't mean the medical field itself is wrong. Whatever it does is wrong. You cannot blame the things, but we have to blame the environment. We have to blame the persons who impose it unnecessarily on others, who doesn't say the truth but lies. They say it true lies, so their own representatives. And in the same way, these things or this type of that type of interpretation is also be seen in religious things, in so many social norms and other things. We can quote so many of them, but it is not the way, it is not the time to tell all of them, all of those things, but that can be seen in the society. So if you look at the things positively, definitely we can have a better thing, we can have a better life. But at the same time, we cannot say the smell is very nice sitting in the charangi, sitting in the dryness. Dryness smell is always dryness. That is not healthy. But if you take it positively, you can say it for some time. But if you stay there only, automatically your health is affected. So we have to say what is right, and we have to say the truth. We have to say to others what is wrong. We have to put them. Choice is theirs. But at the same time, we cannot blame all the things on a particular thing, on a particular person, on a particular field, etc., etc. So, in this way, the olden days knowledge should be interpreted, should be understood, should be continued in a good way, in one form or another form. That is what I think. So, dear friends, I hope you have understood what I wanted to say, and see you in the next episode. Namaskar. Thank you.